He's a little bit country. He's a little bit rock and roll. He's a little bit polka, death metal, abstract jazz, and German industrial techno. He's Scott Leffler. He's not allowed near the stereo at parties.
Hey, welcome back to episode 4 of Here's the Thing. Now, today's show is just a little bit different because all of the interviews today were recorded last week. And the reason for that is because I got married on Sunday. Well, either I got married on Sunday or she wised up at the very last minute and decided to run away. Either way, I decided I would take a couple days off. So today, Tuesday, when you're listening to this, I'm not really in studio. This is all recording, and you wouldn't even know the difference except that I'm telling you. But today's show is going to be fun nonetheless. We've got Stefan Mychaljiw. He is my first guest, and we're going to talk American Idol, and we're going to talk politics, and then we're going to talk about everything else in the world. We got Andrew McGrath in to discuss sports. Actually, Andrew McGrath in to discuss not a lot of sports, but we're going to have a lot of fun nonetheless. And then Skyway is a pop-punk band from Buffalo, joins us, and we actually do talk about politics, but not sports. Music today is mostly from the archive. I decided, I've been going through the All Western New York Radio Library and trying to update the ID3 tags and the MP3s and all that fun stuff. We added a new radio player about a couple months ago or so. And ever since then, I've been going through the archive and just, making sure that things are right. As a result, I've run into all this old music that we used to play way back in the day that I'm throwing back into rotation. And we got 3 songs today from the archive. We got a song by Kick Williams, we got a song by Dark Morning, and we got a song by Beautiful Remedy. Then we're going to close out with a brand new song by Skyway after their interview. So that's the plan for today. Now, I appreciate listening. Obviously, want you to listen live. If you can't for some reason, we do podcast the show at allwnyradio.com. Just click on the podcast link, and from there you can download it, and you can listen to it over and over and over again if you want to. And obviously, we hope that you do. So this is Here's the Thing. My name's Scott Leffler, and we're about to step into the interviews with Stefan Mychaljiw, Andrew McGrath, and the pop-punk band out of Buffalo, Skyway. But before that, our first song of the day by Kick Williams. Thanks for tuning in.
Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Well, it's pathetic.
Scott Leffler is a professional talk show host in a controlled environment. Please do not attempt to have opinions at home.
All right, joining me by phone is former WKBW and WGRZ TV personality, media guy, and current media guy, actually, but we'll talk about that in a little bit, and former Erie County Comptroller and candidate for the 27th Congressional District, Stefan Mychaljiw. Stefan, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. I know you're a very busy man. You made a comment earlier about having 98 Zoom calls today, and I don't doubt that to be true, but you took out time to schedule an interview here with me, and I appreciate it.
Oh, anything for you. Another institution in local journalism, and you've been around the block a long time, highly respected for so many years in journalism circles. I'm happy to join you.
So, Steph, the main reason I actually reached out to you was because you had posted something on X the other day about American Idol, that there were like 40 million votes or whatever, and it was tabulated in like 30 seconds. And you said, why can't we do this? And I tend to kind of agree with you. And I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit more on that because I wanted more depth on that. Now, I'm not an American Idol fan, but I know,
yeah, me neither.
But I know the process, and you're right. Like, people vote by phone; they can vote as many as 10 times, and everything is just instant. And we in America have a voting problem. Now, you and I probably think we have different voting problems, but one thing that I think that we can agree on is there's no reason we shouldn't know the winners of all local races within, let's say, a couple hours. What do we do to fix that?
That's a great question. And yeah, it came up. My wife, Ashley, we have a little routine. I do a lot of work at night. I try to get as much prep work for clients done the night before, and she just loves American Idol. And I don't even know the name of the contestant, but she was obsessed with one. And when the voting came in, it was like 10 to 11. She's like, hey, text this number 10 times. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? It's okay, sure. I text the number, and then I'm like, oh, so, did they announce the winner in a couple days? She was like, no, they're announcing the winner in a few minutes. I'm like, are you kidding me? And that's when the light bulb went off. Like, well, if millions of people can vote at the same time across the country for one race, why can't we do that in our presidential elections, our local elections? Even when I ran in 2012 for Erie County Comptroller, nobody thought I would win. I mean, even people in my own family didn't think I would win as, a Republican running in a predominantly blue Democratic county, and Barack Obama was at the top of the ticket. And I remember on election night, the best we can do were projections based on all the absentee ballots that were out. And so we declared victory just based on a projection, not having a definitive answer. And, my opponent was the incumbent, great guy, military veteran. We became friends after the election. And we really didn't have finality until about a month after ballots were cast.
Right.
And there's got to be a better way to do it.
If I recall correctly, there was just a race for judge that was decided last week in North Carolina or one of the Carolinas, I think, from a November election. It's
bananas. And it doesn't really matter where you are on the political spectrum, Republican, Democrat. I mean, our democracy depends on free and fair and trustworthy elections. And I think a big component of that, there was even an election in New Jersey. It was a school board election. The only reason why I know this is because New York State, like Suffolk County, for example, is going to be using the same exact touchscreen voting machines. And a few years ago, they debuted this touchscreen. I think it's Monmouth County in New Jersey. And they declared a winner in the school board election. The person took office. Scott. And 2 months later, they came back and said, whoa, wait a minute, sorry, we had a software glitch, no fraud. And there wasn't fraud. It genuinely was a glitch, because who's going to really hack in? The Russians aren't hacking in for a school board election in Monmouth County,
Maybe in
but
Clarence,
they made a mistake.
though. Maybe in Clarence, though.
I wouldn't put it past him. So the person got removed from office, and they put in the real winner. So even with all this modern technology, they're still not getting it right, whether it's at the national level or the local level.
So how do we fix it?
Well, I think it's a system where I think a uniform. So the problem is, every state gets, and obviously that's the way our country was founded, our founding fathers, and the way the system is right now. it's all being driven by each individual state. So you've got not only each individual state with 50 potential different systems, then you drill down that each county within the state then could have potentially a different. So in New York, 62 counties, you can have 62 different systems in one state, multiply that by 50 states. So the reason why American Idol had results from 28 million people in 10 minutes is they had one centralized system. All the data in, all the data out, boom, you spit it out and there's your winner. And, if there's any appetite at the congressional level for some semblance of a federal system like that where it's one system, or you'd have to get all 50 states to agree to use the same software, the same equipment. But even then, they had the touch screens in that one county in New Jersey and they still got it wrong.
Now, I'm a big 10th Amendment fan, and any right not guaranteed to the federal should be, held by the states. But there are some things where I think, maybe this should be federalized. Would you support a federal election system?
I would support a system where we can get an answer on election night.
Right.
The same way that American Idol did. Hey, if they said, hey, let's use the American Idol system, and regardless of who you voted for, regardless of who you supported, if we can get answers in a definitive victor and loser in one night, great, let's try it. And I think that's what people really want. Like, and to this day, people still, like, I know a lot of people on the right side of the aisle, they won't even go for early voting, which I support early voting. I think it's great. I always early vote. But
yeah, I think
people are so untrustworthy.
I think your side kind of screwed that one up, to be completely honest with you. You kind of screwed yourself out of some votes because you're like, no, don't vote early, and then election day came and it was rainy or whatever. And
you're 100% right.
I have always
you're 100% right.
I've always felt that it was weird that we had an election day to begin with. Why not an election week? Really, and kind of with the early voting, that's what it's turned into. In fact, it's turned into an election couple weeks, and Personally, I think that allows for more people to vote. Now, whether everyone voting is frankly a good thing or a bad thing, there are some people out there that I'm like, maybe you shouldn't be the one deciding things. But
only vote for American Idol, not for a president.
Exactly. But I do think that early voting. Funny. I do think that early voting has allowed more people to vote, and I think that's a good thing. In fact, I voted early in each of the last, two major elections, three elections, just because I don't know what I'm doing election day. And I think that a lot of people are like that,
right.
with me having a job that's very unpredictable, and especially I wouldn't really call myself a journalist anymore, but I still do the news. Sometimes crazy things happen on election day, and I don't have the chance to get to go vote. So I've voted early.
Especially the elderly.
Sure.
Yeah, the elderly, especially for seniors, they can get sick, things happen, hospitalizations, travel. And from my perspective, obviously being a Republican, I think you just have to say, these are the rules. And we don't set them. We just have to play by them. So you know what? If these are the rules of early voting and that's the process, well, okay, let's, stop bitching and moaning about it and then just maximize your base and do what you can to get your supporters out early. And I think, the right side of the spectrum finally learned its lesson after getting their clocks cleaned. A guy like Scott Pressler who went all over the country and registered voters and encouraged everybody. It was interesting, really interesting, Scott, how all the messaging and campaign literature, again, purely from the right side of the spectrum in this last cycle was bank your vote. That was the slogan, bank your vote, make it count and vote early. Not often, but vote early. And
this isn't Chicago.
But it worked. It worked.
All right, back it up a little bit. Now, Stefan, you grew up in Buffalo. You were a member of the media. You have got all the makings of a radical leftist, and yet somehow you went in the opposite direction. How did you become a member of the dark side?
It's actually a really good and fair question. Yeah, I grew up in the hood. I grew up at Wood and Fillmore in an alley. Grew up in extreme poverty, youngest of 7 kids. Definition of, dysfunction and abuse. My mom did the best she could, raising 7 children as she did. she had 5 or 7 kids with 5 different dads. By the time my dad came around, I mean, we were basically, if you think of J.D. Vance and Hillbilly Elegy, our family was dapping in the inner city.
By the way, I loved that book.
It's a great book.
I have not seen the movie, but I did read the book. And between you and me, we'll get back to you here in a second, but just reading about his childhood, I thought the same thing. How does the guy that had those experiences end up being, a right-wing Republican? So I guess you're kind of now answering for the both of them. So please continue.
Yeah, and I remember the shame and embarrassment of standing in the free cheese line. All the food in our house had USDA on it, from whether it was free cheese, the powdered milk, the 50-gallon drum of free peanut butter with the oil on top, or you open the can and, getting in different, I remember getting in line for presents at Christmas, and, I'm the son of immigrants, and they would always say, like, hey, education's a great equalizer. Don't rely on anyone else. If you work hard, you can, climb out of this. And in my formative years, I saw how my mom, again, she hustled and did anything she could to feed her kids. And I remember being on food stamps. Back then it wasn't a fancy debit card. They were actually like stamps, like they, basically a ghetto dollar bill. And I always remember just the shame and embarrassment of being dependent on, whether it was different social service agencies, the government for food, for our livelihood. And, in my formative years, I thought, all right, the best way to climb out of this is kind of hard work, letting me keep more of the money that I earn in my pocket and not going to government. And that's pretty much, from a 30,000-foot view. There was no, like, one person. Like, I didn't watch Friedman or see a Ronald Reagan speech. It was more of just the culture that I grew up in and not wanting to be part of it. And then, again, having the mindset of, okay, what really traps people in the life that I had. And that's why I kind of lean towards the right side of the spectrum.
So when you registered to vote, I'm going to guess you registered at 18, right?
This is an interesting story, Scott. Yes, the day I was eligible to vote, I was a student at Syracuse University. I registered as a Democrat.
Oh, and that's what I was going to ask you. Actually, is 100%. All right.
And the reason why it's a funny story is because when I ran for Congress, there's a conservative group called Club for Growth, and they elect Republicans all over the country. Special interest group. I think they do great work, and you go for a formal interview. Now, the golden rule, whether it's politics or just in your life, don't lie.
Sure.
Especially when the people in front of you have the data back it. So, any congressional candidate or a national race, the first thing you do is you do an opposition book on yourself, and then you do an opposition book on your opponents. So I knew Club for Growth had my oppo book, and they knew that I registered as Democrat. And they're like, all right, have you ever been a Democrat? They knew the answer to that question, Scott. You want to see if I would lie? Right. And I said, absolutely. I said, I was a student at Syracuse University. It was the New York State primary, and I did not want Bill Clinton to be the Democratic nominee. I said, so I registered as a Democrat, voted for Jerry Brown in the Democratic primary, and then switched to Republican Party shortly after. So that was my short stint as a Democrat to vote against Bill Clinton. And then that year was the presidential election where I voted for, as a Republican, Jack Quinn in Congress and the first George Bush for president.
Right. Now, are you currently a registered Republican?
Yes. Right. Yeah. Registered Republican. My wife and I live in Elma, New York. We're both Republicans. And,
do you have to be Republican to live in Elma? Is that a law?
Yeah, they don't let you cross the border from West Seneca until you show your Board of Elections card. And they're like, hey, wait a minute, get back to Hamburg.
Yeah.
You're a Democrat. Out.
I can imagine. Now, personally, Stefan, I'm a registered libertarian. I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that. Personally, I feel like I need to re-register as something else, but I'm not. I share a lot of Democratic ideals, but I really don't feel like I'm a Democrat, and I kind of feel like I don't have a party. When I registered libertarian, they had some Democratic ideals, some Republican ideals, and unfortunately over the course of the last 15 years or so, they've gotten taken over by, in my opinion, complete lunatics. So libertarian definitely doesn't represent me, but I don't feel like anything else does either, so I've just kind of stayed.
But you know what's sad, though? Like, everybody nowadays, whether you're libertarian, Democrat, or Republican, it seems as though, like, everybody's got to pick a jersey. And it's just so toxic.
Hasn't that always been the
current
case?
climate.
I think we have a
Not really.
pie in the sky view of how things used to be. Whereas, so I know that my parents, for example, told me when I was younger, we lived in the town of Niagara. They said, this is a Democrat town. If you want anything done, you have to be a registered Democrat. And that was 40 some odd years ago.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can only speak from my personal experience. Like when I was county controller, and it's interesting, especially coming from me, saying, "Oh, that damn media," but like a guy like the county executive, Mark Poloncarz, and I know, isn't it ironic?
Yeah.
But like, and I had my political differences with him, obviously, but when it came to doing the people's business and the government's work, we worked really well together.
Uh-huh.
Like we never, in the actual like job of him being the executive, me being the control, like we worked really well together. And I'll never forget this. I said, why don't we do a joint press release? Because he and I, based on our positions, would pitch to Wall Street to get a better bond rating for Erie County, and which obviously if you lower the bond rating, it's better interest rate, you save money. And so I said, let's do a joint press release, both of us. Let's see how many media outlets pick it up that you and I work together to, I mean, literally save millions of dollars. Nobody picked it up.
Really?
Nobody. But even like Democrats, like when I was a Republican, Pat Burke, who's now an assemblyman, ultra liberal Democrat, he's a good friend of mine. And when he was a county legislator, we didn't have it like penciled in on the calendar where it's like, hey, 2:00, we're having a beer together. But if I was ever in South Buffalo for whatever reason, I'd call him up. Like, hey, let's go to the Irish Center. Let's have a beer. Pop, in his case. And we would just meet, or, families would chat, and, I would definitely have a pop or two. And we would separate our politics and our friendship. And, that was 10 years ago when I was more than 10 years ago, geez Louise, 13 years ago when I was county controller. But like, I think in the era of, President Trump and Hillary for Republicans and President Trump for Democrats, like everyone's got to pick a jersey, and it's just so damn toxic, and it's unfortunate. It really is.
Well, I think both sides think that the other side is crazy. And, before I hit record on this interview, I told you, we come from different perspectives. But I don't want this to be contentious because I have always liked you. You and I have always gotten along great, despite the fact that I think that some things that you think are crazy, and you probably think that some things that I think are crazy. But I don't have any reason to dislike you. Other than the fact that, we cancel out each other's votes, and all right, so we cancel out each other's votes.
Yeah, and that's cool in the gang, as it should be. Like, I don't understand, people on both sides of the spectrum. I don't understand having that kind of hatred or disdain for someone just because they have a different view from you.
I think that
that is bananas.
I think that to a large degree, social media and all of them, from Facebook to Twitter, now X, I mean, even Instagram and TikTok, has radicalized people, and made everyone crazy. Literally made everyone crazy. And I don't know how to get past that.
Well, again, back in the day when I first started in journalism, we were on typewriters. We didn't even have a computer in our time. Like the cell phones didn't exist. If you wanted to bitch about someone, you'd have to tell them.
Right.
Or, you're a newspaper guy, or you wrote a letter to the editor and you put your name on it. Like there's some semblance of accountability if you bitch to someone, like, okay, they know who it is.
Right.
And you're either saying it directly to them, or you put it in writing, okay, this is me, this is my address, yeah, I own that. And now it's just so easy. There's no accountability, and there's no way you can actually gauge the hate that you're putting out because there's nothing coming back at you. Right. There's no accountability in it.
And now, like...
and the irony of...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, now, like, Red Dog 1113 can, like, say something crazy, and you don't know who that is. Except I know that it's you.
Right. Right. You know, and the irony of ironies, when I was county controller 9 years, I didn't even control my own social media. I didn't know the passwords to my social media.
Right.
For a few reasons. One, I didn't trust myself. You know, if I have a couple of Obolone Ukrainian beers, I'd wind up in the Buffalo News, you know? Like, you mother... And I would just... Whoop. And so one of it was truly a defense mechanism to, you know, you're never hurt by anything you do not say.
Right.
You know, but it was, in some respects, it was also, you know, in some respects, 9 of the most peaceful years of my life. Because I didn't know what the hell people were saying. I didn't know what, you know, and obviously if it was something sensitive, my staff who controlled it, they would say, hey, we're going to put this out. Yeah, sure. Okay, go ahead, knock your socks off. But like, I couldn't even post on my own social media.
Right.
By design. And it was great. It was great. You know, and every, you know, blue moon, someone, you know, I'd see them at an event or public, they're like, hey man, I said this about you. It was really harsh, really sorry. No problem.
Right.
and I have no idea.
Right.
But yeah, and I think it's just so much easier to launch attacks and be deeply impersonal and never even think that there's someone on the receiving end of the vitriol that you're putting out. Like and you're 100% right. Social media has really made it easier in that respect.
So, Stefan, I know you mostly as a TV personality, TV newsman. Did you do newspapers before that?
No, never. I mean, the only my experience before with the newspaper was like writing an editorial too for the Daily Orange, the student newspaper at Syracuse University.
Gotcha. So
I always wanted.
So you went to Syracuse for communications and then went right into TV?
Yeah, I was a junior and broke as a joke. You know, I was, you know, driving a Huffy bike around the campus of Syracuse University and all my friends, you know, BMWs and multifamilies. And I just had to hustle all the time. Mm-hmm. And I was a student volunteer at our TV station. And so I learned how to, you know, pick up a camera, like real TV studio equipment. And then WSTM TV in Syracuse had an opening for a part-time photographer. And I did not want to be a photographer. I wanted to report. And I said, hey, it's my way to get my foot in the door. Right. And then I'll try to get on the air. And I begged the news director like once a week, like clockwork. I'd go in his office, hey, put me on and be like, no. And then, you know, one weekend, like 97 people called in sick. And he said, all right, you got your shot. If you suck, I'll never put you on TV again.
Right.
And I was horrible. They never should have put me on again. Oh, I sucked. It was so bad, Scott. It took me like, I never forget it. It was like a Memorial Day story. I was in a cemetery, nice ceremony. It took me like 30 minutes to spit out like 10 seconds on camera. That wasn't like a serious case of the mumbles or stumbles or dropping an F-bomb on tape. And then eventually, you know, my whole family's here in Buffalo and I wanted to get back to Buffalo and I came back home.
Right. All right. So you did the media here, then you went into politics. And then after the 27th, you started doing media consulting. Is that right?
Yeah. I had no interest in running for controller again. You know, I just had the philosophy of, all right, founding fathers wanted, you know, citizen legislators. I didn't want to make it my entire life. And people told me all the time, like, hey, you can be Alfreda Slominski, who's a great former controller. Like, you can have this job until you die. And I'd rather set myself on fire. And so ran for Hamburg supervisor, kind of like my one last hurrah, still wanting to serve, but in my hometown lost. And I said, all right, it's God's way telling me to do something else. And then I joined, my best friend is a Buffalo guy, Chris Grant, former Chris Collins chief staffer, and he ran a consulting firm called Big Dog Strategies. And so I joined Chris and then started consulting on national campaigns. And that's how I really got involved with national politics, was through Big Dog Strategies, helping Republicans all over the country, from, you know, Maine to Alaska, you know, down to Hawaii and back to Florida. And that's what I did before joining the Vivek Ramaswamy campaign.
Gotcha. And now you're back to doing media. Tell me about your current gig.
Yeah, it's great. It's a blessing. I'm in the newspaper business. It is a blessing beyond belief. You know, when I was with Big Dog, they sent me to New Hampshire for a week, and they said, hey, you got to work with this guy. He's running for president. His name's about as easy to pronounce as yours. And go help him out, send him up for his launch. So I went to New Hampshire for a week with Vivek Ramaswamy, and I was only supposed to be there for a week, help him with his launch, and then go back to Buffalo and Big Dog Strategies. And Vivek called Chris Grant, our CEO, and said, hey, I like this guy. I need a spokesman. He's a bulldog. Can I kind of steal him for the next year and a half? And so that's what I did. I transferred over to Vivek Ramaswamy's campaign. And then obviously after he lost, Chris knew the gentleman that owns the newspaper in Long Island, Suffolk County, called the South Shore Press. And literally, he was looking for someone to kind of be the news director, manage the paper. And Chris says, hey, my buddy Stefan is a media guy. Why don't you give him a call? And lo and behold, it's literally as simple as that. That's exactly how it worked out. And so I write and host podcasts and shoot videos for the South Shore Press in Long Island.
Do you ever have to go to Long Island for work, or are you able to exclusively work?
Oh, do I ever?
Oh, yeah?
Oh, do I ever? Yeah. I go once a week in New York. We do, but thank God for technology. Like,
oh, yeah.
With the staff of reporters, and we do our daily Zoom call. But I go to New York and Long Island one day a week. There's an early morning flight to JFK that I'll take. If I stay the day, I'll take like the 6:30 a.m. flight to New York, and then take the last 10:30 p.m. flight home, or I'll just crash overnight and come home. But yeah, I'm in New York usually every single week, and I love it. I kind of have that journalism bug in my blood, and as you know, it's hard to, when you got the itch, to scratch it.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lifestyle. Though I got to tell you, I mean, most of the people that I worked with throughout my different campaigns, and by campaigns I mean journalism careers, they're all doing other things now, whether it's public relations or whether it's government jobs or whatever. Almost no one that I worked with is still in media, and I think it's largely because they realized $30,000 a year is never going to cut it, and that's pretty much all you're ever going to make.
Yeah.
So.
You're right. Yeah, the salaries are nuts. I mean, even when I started in 1993 at WSTN, like I know for a fact I was making more then than I think what some of the young reporters are making now on TV. Because you remember, early 90s, there was no competition. It was 3 networks, and so there was money in media. You can raise a family on it. But like, I'd rather start my car in the garage than be a reporter now in any media market, because the pay sucks, as you know. And I mean, who wants to spend weekends? Again, Scott, you know the drill.
Oh yeah, it's a 24/7 job.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got my wife and I have young kids. Screw that. I'll let someone else go and work for $25,000 a year to sit at the base of the Skyway and say, hey, everybody, it's snowing and it's cold and the Skyway's closed.
Yeah, I was talking to Brad Ryder the other day about it. He said, he said, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm always thinking of, how can I use this for my job? And I recall when I was a full-time reporter, it was the same. You go to Tops to get bread and you run into, the county comptroller, for example. And next thing you know, you're standing in an aisle at Tops having a 45-minute conversation and you go, well, that was work, and you just wanted a loaf of bread.
Yeah, you're right. And that's why, I always said to myself, for lack of a better phrase, if I got back in, I would do a community paper, and again, it's Long Island, so it's really it's considered down there. It would be a major newspaper here in our neck of the woods. But I would love to do, talk radio or kind of do that newspaper thing. And I think for guys like you and I, not to sound corny, but our goal, our purpose, we try to use the gifts and talents that God gave us to find whatever profession and passion, and then you go and do it.
Right.
And, mine was I always thought, communications, I can write. I love public speaking. So, I get to, even, you doing this podcast and, still being in, some semblance of a journalism mode that we're using the gifts and talents we have to pursue our passion. And that's a good thing. And I love it. I love the newspaper business. Again, it's around here, it would be considered a major newspaper just because it's, Long Island and New York City.
Right.
And, loving it so far, and we'll see where it goes.
Do you see yourself being back in politics in a more direct sense at any point?
I don't think so. I mean, I really don't. Like towards the end, that's when, and you recall like 2016, it started getting crazy on both sides of the aisle. And like, I would get death threats and, there's a couple times literally the sheriff called and was like, yeah, get your wife and kids out of the house. My wife went to the in-laws and, we'd have like Antifa showing up at the house. And it just wasn't worth it. Like, and we did great work for taxpayers, and I'm really proud of the work that we did, helping people that, 99% of the time that we served or did something good for people never got attention. No one ever knew about it. And that's why I did it for as long as I did, because it was really fulfilling. But in the kind of toxic arena that it is now, I wouldn't turn down no exaggeration. I would run for Elma Town Board in Elma, New York, because I'd still get to serve my community. It's in my backyard, but without the baggage, without the vitriol and the hate and the social media and things like that. Like, I'm not interested. Like, I have zero interest in running for anything other than maybe Elma Town Board years down the road.
All right. Steph, I think I got everything out of you that I need to get out of you. Now I just have to cut the video apart, or cut the audio apart, put it together to say a bunch of things that you didn't say, and broadcast it as though that was what you did say.
Love it. Love it.
All right.
You're the boss.
I appreciate your time, and I wish you the best. Except
I want all
your candidates to lose. But other than that, I wish you the best.
Hey, as long as they pay me, it doesn't matter.
That's the clip. That's the one I was looking for. All right, brother. Thank you, man. Have a great day, and I appreciate you doing this so much.
All right, you got it.
All right, bye-bye. All right, we're going to play a song real quick, Glow by Dark Morning, and when we come back, we'll have Drew McGrath, and he and I are going to talk sports, or probably not a lot of sports, but we're going to talk. It'll be fun.
Beneath this sky of darkness, converging clouds of misery. I've become my own beacon of light, and I'll shine for all to see. Yes, I'll light the path in front of me. The night has come, and it's too dark to see. With the blind leading the blind into the middle of the street. But there's something I believe is now starting to show. No matter how dark they make the world, I'll still shadows rolling black, sky is falling, suffocating your world, breaking feet, lost, trying your hope, dying. Change of season, spark of reason, no more breaking, new day waking, no more falling, sunlight falling.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for Scott Leffler.
Okay, joining us in studio today, as every week, we've got Andrew McGrath. We're going to talk sports. Actually, I don't know how much sports we're going to talk. We might talk about a whole bunch of things that aren't sports. Now, to let you know, for the record, we are recording this on Friday for Tuesday's show because I'm getting married on Sunday. Or as you're listening to this, I got married on Sunday. Unless everything went wrong and then I didn't get married on Sunday. And, well, that'll be a show for the future. But the plan is for me to get married on Sunday and take a couple days off. So I am not doing a live show on Tuesday. We are pre-recording this. And so Drew is here today to talk not sports. Now, tomorrow, Saturday, or a couple days ago, Saturday, however you want in the space-time continuum, the National Lacrosse League Buffalo Bandits were playing to win another national championship, and we're going to hope that they won.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So, as a result, a lot of things may have happened between Friday and now that we're not going to talk about. But that's okay, because we've got a whole bunch of other things to talk about.
I agree. And, guys, don't allow him to lie to you guys. It is not a wedding. It is a funeral for her, because she is marrying him.
She makes bad decisions, and that's good for me. We'll put it that way.
Right, yeah.
All right, so now before the show, Drew and I were talking. Drew is currently looking for a new job because the current job, it's not all that you would like it to be. So Drew is in the process of looking for a new job, and he was telling me on the way here that his new job that he went and interviewed for today was in quote-unquote marketing. Now, if you've listened to the show for a while, I think I might have talked about the quote-unquote marketing job that I attempted to get. And Drew had a very similar experience. Drew, what happened in this job interview?
Yeah, so it was listed as a marketing job. And basically what it is door-to-door, I would say solicitation of Do you want to switch your services to more energy efficient and solar? If so, you get a 5% discount.
So one step up, basically, from door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman or encyclopedia salesman.
Correct.
Because you don't got to lug around a vacuum cleaner.
No. And it would all be done on my personal cell phone, which, to me, I do not feel comfortable with, because I don't want the company having information, and I don't want the company's information on my personal phone.
Right.
It's just weird that they don't have tablets or anything like that. It's like...
So I don't know if you remember the story, Drew, but I had applied for a marketing job. Oh, I don't know, probably going back 20 years now, and showed up for the interview and found out it was sales, and I walked right out. You were nicer than that, though.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to be rude and just be like, okay, yeah, this is...
They were rude to you. They lied to you.
Yeah.
There should literally be a law that, and I'm not a huge fan of laws, but you should not be able to bait and switch jobs. You should not be able to,
a posting of a job,
right? Yeah, Drew, I would like for you to come and interview for vice president of
talent relations.
Yeah, and then you get there and it's actually janitorial.
Right. Basically, what this was.
Vice president of services, and then you get there and you're vice president of that broom closet. Congratulations.
Right.
You're not even the president of the broom closet. You're vice president of the broom closet.
Right, and it was straight 100% commission.
No draw whatsoever.
None, and it would have been obviously 1099, which means I would have had to have pay for all my own benefits, everything like that. Also, I would have to hire some sort of accountant or something like that to be able to file the taxes for me.
Well, that's assuming you make any money, which you probably wouldn't. Right,
and it's like they wanted knock on 150 doors a day.
Wow.
And to try to get at least 10 sales a day for the quota of 50 sales a week. And basically what it was going to be, it was if you get 0 to 15, it would have been $30 per one. It would have been 16 to 35. It would have been $40, and then after that, it would have been $50 per one
sale.
Right, but it's and then they were saying a time frame of 10 to 7, and they would prefer Monday through Saturday. So I'm like, wait, time out.
So you want me to go to people's homes when they're not there, in order to try to convince them to go solar, and I only get paid if I make a sale.
Right. Also, during dinner time when someone's already hungry and would probably have food thrown at me.
Talk about your Lord and Savior, the Son.
Really? We'll just leave it at that.
All right. Now, Drew, in a perfect world, what's your perfect job? What do you want to do?
Honestly, I don't know. To be honest,
you're getting old. You should figure this out. What are you 48?
No, I'm 40.
I knew that actually.
Yes. I never pictured a perfect job. In all reality, no. I had the dream of trying to become a pro athlete, but other than that, it was just trying to find something that I would like. Because if I liked it, then it wouldn't be a job to me then.
Gotcha.
So
I always wanted to cover Congress for a major newspaper.
Okay.
Not one district, just the whole shebang, just and all of Congress. I actually had applied
for what do you mean, say USA Today, and you're just the columnist for that.
Not columnist, reporter, but
reporter.
So I spend my day on Capitol Hill, going from office to office.
Gotcha.
Hey, Congressman Malarkey, tell me about this bill you got. I don't know. I always thought that would be my dream job. I have covered politics, in different jobs that I've had, and I enjoyed that very much. But I wanted to just, I wanted to basically spend my day on Capitol Hill harassing politicians. I thought that would be a good job.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. All right, so you had texted me something earlier today about an incident at the casino the other day, And I wanted to touch on that because I found the story to be kind of funny. Now, the story that you sent me was actually the second version of the story that I had seen. I saw it in another, I don't know if it was the Gazette or the Buffalo News or.
Yeah, so
you sent me it from Niagara Action.
Yeah.
Which is a local website, which, it covers local Niagara Falls news. And the story was that the other night, what night was it? Tuesday, maybe? I don't remember. I think Tuesday. At the casino, someone had left their ticket in the machine for $600 and some odd, and someone else came and cashed it out.
Yeah, they were playing like video poker at the bar or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone else came and cashed it out and then went and cashed the ticket and then went and continued to play in the casino. Well, you can't do anything in the casino that is not on video. So it was pretty easy to find this person because they were still there.
Right. And they, from what I read in that story, that brief synopsis of what it gave us, that the person vehemently denied it, that they never took it,
right.
That. But it's like, okay, they're already questioning you.
Yeah.
You took it. Like, we have every camera.
Generally speaking, I find that security at the casino doesn't ask any questions they don't already know the answer to.
Right.
They know everything that went down by the time they get to you. So don't lie to casino security because that's not going to get you in a good place.
Now, so would that be petty theft? Because it's under $1,000, so I know it's petty. But now, would it be theft or larceny?
I don't know the classification.
Right, neither do I. But I think it would just be petty theft if I would. But is it worth? Is that really worth it though?
For $600, no. So I was thinking about this actually when it happened. That so this person, security knew who it was before. They saw the video and said, "Oh, we know this person." So it's a regular of some sort. And I was thinking, if you're going to do that, you got to do it in a city that you've never been in and are not going back to. Or you could get away with it. Like if you go to Vegas for a couple of days and on the third day that you're there and you're leaving immediately, you see a ticket. Like you could get away with it.
Right.
I'm not suggesting it, mind you, but you could get away with it. You cannot get away with it at your normal haunt. That's just dumb.
Right, and especially if you're to stick around. If you've already cashed it out, why are you sticking around?
Right.
Leave.
Yeah.
If you are going to do it.
Right.
Just
and
get
never,
out of there.
But you got to leave and never come back.
Right.
Because
you got to pick, and you actually got to be smart about it and not pick one around the middle of the floor or something. You got to pick one by the closest exit.
Right.
So this way, you're gone. Once you're out, you're out.
Well, and so which leads me to the next question. So let's say you do. You steal $600 and then you never go back to the casino. Was that really worth it? Is it worth $600 to never Drew? I'm going to give you $600, but in exchange you need to never go to the Seneca Niagara Casino again.
Okay, but now, but now I can't go to any part of their property.
Let's just say let's just stick with Seneca Niagara. I'm going to when you leave here today, I'm going to hand you $600 cash, but in exchange you have to promise me that you are never going to a casino again.
Right,
I would not take that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I couldn't go to a restaurant there or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about Buffalo Creek. And,
I can't even go to the gas station because that's their property as well.
Right.
Yeah. So
speaking of the gas station, I actually have a gas station story. I got gas today, and so how most gas stations, there's two cars in a row. There's a front car and then a back car, and sometimes the pumps are situated so that once you're in line, you really can't get out of line until the person in front of you moves. There are some unwritten rules at a gas station, which is once you get your gas, you get the hell out of the way. But I got my gas. I was second in line.
Mm-hmm.
There's a woman in front of me. She got her gas, and then she sat in her car and just sat there. And I waited 2, 3, probably 4 or 5 minutes, and finally ended up having to back out, which I hate doing because that is probably one of the key causes of accidents there.
Right.
But I ended up having to back out because she didn't move. And I wasn't going to honk. I'm not an asshole. But she was being an asshole, and I didn't like that. There are unwritten rules. There are rules to society, and one of them is after you get your gas, you move.
It's customary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's like, part of having a license is like that should be on the test when you take,
right.
like, or like when you're doing your driving test or whatever like that. Like,
but I mean, like, so that transfers to other things though too. Like, so
right.
you go to McDonald's, right? You place your order, you pay, and then you move to the right or the left, so the next person can place their order.
Right, or like, yeah, or once you they tell you to pull up to the next window, you get your food. Like, I get it if you want to check the bag for like real quick for like 30 seconds. Sure, no problem. Just make sure the order is right. Cool, but you don't need to be there for like
I'm gonna sit here and eat my meal while everybody else waits.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat some fries while right, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I know what you're saying.
I don't know, man. I do feel like there are a lot of, we'll call them unwritten rules, because I mean, obviously they're not legitimately rules, but they are things that I learned growing up. You probably learned growing up. I don't know if parents aren't teaching their kids how to behave in public anymore or what, but I do feel like society is unraveling.
Well, I think a lot of it is because of the cancel culture and everybody feeling like, well, you're depriving me of something in some sort of either like monetarily
I do feel
or
that there is definitely a certain level of entitlement.
Yes.
So I remember, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I remember it was a big deal, like, this is America, I can do what I want. And I really do feel like that mentality seeped in with a lot of people, and they have translated it to, I can do anything I want at any time without regard for how it affects other people. And I don't feel like that's what America was or is supposed to be.
Well, in a way it is. In a way it is, because you can do that. You can do that, but the consequences of whatever is going to happen is going to happen.
Well, all right, so let's transition back to sports a little bit. I remember when my girls were little, we went to a Sabres game, and we were in like the second or third row. And
like the lower?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
like
the 100 level.
What would have been the old gold, the odd? So 100?
Well, it was an HSBC,
Yeah, but you know how the odd, though,
right.
It was like gold,
right.
Like...
Right. So
the 100,
we were in the 100s in like the second or third row. And my kids are probably 3 and 6 at the time, or 4 and 7, something
People
like
standing
that.
up in front of you guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For the whole game. Like, I get you're excited, there's a play, you stand up, you cheer. But when you are in the front row, you do not need to stand up for the whole game, especially when there was a 4-year-old directly behind you. And I remember, like, I am not an aggressive person. In fact, I'm usually not even an assertive person. But I was like, hey, asshole, and like, he wanted to fight me. And actually it kind of worked out well, because he ended up getting belligerent and kicked out. But
okay, now on topic, but do you feel that was a mistake on your part?
What was? Calling him an asshole?
No, having those seats with your girls, because of the fact is that a sporting event, a lot of people cheering, everything like that, more than likely there's going to be that element.
All right, so where are we supposed to sit then? Because it only isn't an issue if we sit in the very front row of any section.
Right.
Any place else?
When I did go, the one place I liked sitting was the 300, first row.
Yeah.
You see everything, and you don't have to worry about like anybody sitting in front of you. But I get what you were trying to do. You were trying to, have them, experience that.
There were numerous occasions when we went to Sabres games and did sit up in the 300s. There was actually a couple times we even got to sit in the 200s, which was swanky.
Yeah.
But there were numerous occasions where we went and sat in the 300s. But I don't remember why. But on this one occasion, I don't remember if I got free tickets or they were just really cheap or what happened. But I got what were basically center ice, like 3 seats from the ice. And so I was like, heck yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And like I said, it eventually worked out. But, yeah, it was...
Because to me, though, it's like something like that. It's like you're purchasing the ticket, but it's at your own risk.
Right.
So,
here's another example, a non-sports example. I like to go to concerts. If I am at a concert and I notice that the person behind me is shorter than me, I'll try to move so that they can see.
But you happen to be a decent person, though.
Exactly, and we're common decency is literally no longer common. Common decency is very rare.
What is common?
Common's a rapper who was on Sesame Street one time.
No, I mean like the word common. Like, what is that? That word doesn't exist anymore.
It really doesn't. Well, I mean, think of all the common things: common decency, common sense,
courtesy,
common courtesy. Literally, none of those things are common anymore. Especially common sense. Common sense is so very rare.
Yeah, it's just like I think like I started noticing it probably around like early to mid 2010s. I would say probably.
Right.
Yeah. Because everybody thought like everything has to revolve around them all the time.
Right.
And but I get it. It's America. It's a free country. All that. And you have that right. You have that prerogative if you want to. But at certain points, though,
again,
it's like
we're back to unwritten rules. And,
right.
And there are rights. But there are also responsibilities. With great power comes great responsibility. With being part of the greatest country in the world comes the responsibility of not being a total douche tool.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying though. Like whatever consequence happens,
right?
That's what. But you're also signing up for that as well,
right?
So,
well, we're way off topic, but I mean it goes back to like free speech. Yes, you can say whatever you want, but that doesn't mean there aren't consequences.
Right.
Now, there can't be consequences from the government, but if you say something stupid
Slander.
and somebody punches you in the face for it,
that's
you can't be like, "Oh, I had free speech and you denied my free." No, you had your free speech.
And here's my free speech.
This other person's free speech just came in the form of a sandwich, a knuckle sandwich.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. 1,000%. Like. It's gotten so carried away and out of hand.
So, on the sports thing, earlier this week, it came out that several different Buffalo Bills and several Bills alumni were going to be in this Hallmark movie.
Yes, I've seen that.
A lot of people were upset that Josh Allen was not. Now, I certainly understand why he wouldn't. Frankly, they probably couldn't afford him. And frankly, he's probably got better things to do.
He's probably got other obligations.
Yeah. But I saw a lot of people saying, well, who should play Josh Allen? And that really got me thinking. Like, if they were to hire someone to play the role of Josh Allen in a movie, I'm thinking Channing Tatum.
No.
No?
No.
John Cena.
No.
Marky Mark.
No. Okay, so let's see. Bradley Cooper, but add like 20 pounds.
Okay. I don't like it, but okay.
Kind of got the same. They kind of got like the same hairstyle, everything like that. So, but I think if like Bradley Cooper bulked up a little bit, like it probably could be convincing.
All right.
I don't know how tall Bradley Cooper is, but
I don't know. Hey Google, how tall is Bradley Cooper? Bradley Cooper is 6 feet 1 inch tall. Close.
So
Brett, what's
Alan 6'5".
All right.
Yeah. But like camera angles
I feel like once you get to 6 feet, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, camera angles and everything like that. You can shoot them at where it looks like it's the same. So
yeah,
I don't know. That would be to me the closest. But like I'm more. I want to see like Hard Knocks and what they're going to do with Hard Knocks. So
yeah, everybody's excited about Hard Knocks. I couldn't care less.
Well, I just want to see, is it going to be mostly just about the team point of it?
I do understand that there's a Hard Knocks curse.
Yes.
Kind of like the Madden cover curse?
I guess so. I don't really know what it is, though.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah. But, like, no, I just want to see the aspect. Is it, like, because of the practice facility and everything like that, how much of it is going to actually show Highmark Stadium
Hard Knocks is a show on HBO that basically covers training camp of a certain team, correct?
Training camp, and like it depends if it's just a preseason. Sometimes it's actually during the season as well.
Right.
Yeah. So it just depends on like what level of cover access they have.
Now, who would portray Haley Steinfeld?
I don't think anybody would.
Mila Kunis.
But I don't think I don't really think Haley really is seen other than by like the players' wives or girlfriends in that.
It's a love story. It's a Hallmark. I mean,
Well, you're back on that. I was still talking about the Hard Knocks thing.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
As I said, I literally couldn't care less about Hard Knocks.
I just want to know, if it's going to be during the season, how much access are they going to really show of the stadium, and with it being the last year of it and things like that. That's why I'm interested in trying to find out that. That's the only part of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Other than that, I could care less about it.
Yeah, I'm much more interested in the Hallmark movie.
I'm not.
I like the Hallmark movies. I think we've probably talked about this.
Yeah,
I love the Hallmark movies. Depending on when, depending on how Sunday went, wife or former fiance, Jeanette, does not like the Hallmark movies, and I make her suffer with them.
Yeah, she should. Yeah, she should call this whole thing off.
She finally found a real man, Drew. Don't deny her. I was actually talking to some people the other night.
I have no idea. I have no comments about that.
So I was talking with some folks the other night when I was hosting DJ Trivia at Mooney's on Main Street in Tonawanda about the fact that I'm getting married. And I said, yeah, she's a very lucky woman. And they found that funny.
Yeah. Well, see, I actually see you, though. No one else sees you behind what we're doing. So, they would find it.
Ugly?
They would find it funny too.
You're saying I'm ugly?
It is what it is.
My photo is on every podcast we do.
People don't actually look at the photos.
I think they do. That's why I put them there, so that they can look at the photos and go, "Wow, of those people, that guy's hot." The one giving deuces, not so much.
Hey, I don't know. I was the one who got the compliment. So,
do you really want to go there?
No.
All right. Then we won't. I'll go easy on you. There was one other thing that I definitely wanted to talk about, and it was sports related, and now I don't remember what it was. I don't know. What do you bring to the table?
Okay. So, I don't know if we've ever talked about this. Have you ever followed wrestling or paid attention to wrestling or anything like that?
So yes. So when I was younger, in the pre-WrestleMania to early WrestleMania days, I watched it somewhat religiously. My neighbor, where I grew up, got all the pay-per-views, and so we would always go to his house and watch them. So the Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, Andre the Giant, Randy Savage,
gotcha.
British Bulldogs, Killer Bees, that genre,
late 80s, early 90s,
that genre I watched. Then I skipped for quite a bit. Then when I was working at WLVL in Lockport, we would get free tickets to the WWE shows that were at Marine Midland or whatever KeyBank Center was at the time.
Yeah.
They would come, I feel like every 4 or 5 months, and have a show, and we would get free tickets to it. So in order to know what was going on, myself and my kids would watch a little bit just to kind of catch up. So I'm also a little familiar with the John Cena, Rock, Stone Cold era.
Attitude era.
Yeah.
That's what that's called.
And then since then, I know nothing.
Okay, yeah, because that was the reason why I asked that question was because something came out today that WrestleMania 42 was supposed to be in New Orleans. Well, it has been removed from New Orleans.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
This is the first time they've ever, when they
announced it.
Sure.
Well,
and everything
can you
like
imagine announcing a Super Bowl and then being like, nope, just kidding.
Well, and then all of a sudden, within a calendar year, within a 12-month stretch, pull out and say that venue. No one knows why it's with the city of New Orleans, why it's got pulled yet as of the moment.
Anyone laughing at my Super Bowl comparison? I know that to a lot of people, World Wrestling Entertainment is a joke, but to the people who are into it, it is not. And so those events, the big events,
That is the Super
very
Bowl of wrestling. It's like NASCAR. Daytona 500 is the that's the Super Bowl of racing for NASCAR.
But I mean, it gets tens of thousands of people, tens of millions of dollars spent.
Right, and views and watching and everything like that. But like, so the big, so now it's going to be back in Vegas. It was in, so 41 was.
Vegas is a great place for it.
So 41 was just in Vegas.
Right,
now
it's a 2-day event.
Yes.
Which I know they've done for a while, but they
keep changing how they do it. 7 or 8 years it's been 2 days. But yeah, so now they're putting it back in Vegas, and they said it's going to be back in New Orleans just at a later date.
Any idea why they pulled it from New Orleans?
Nothing has been stated as to why.
Maybe they
or
just
anything.
couldn't get the facility.
I don't know. It sounds like it has something to do with TKO, who owns WWE, which also owns MMA, and some issues going on with like licensing or something like that from what is being speculated or whatever. I just found it odd and strange that it's the first time it's ever happened. And then you got to think about it too. It's like I think they announced it like even before 41 happened, that 42 was going to be in New Orleans.
Right.
So people have already probably like booked hotel rooms and things like that. So now like are some of these hotel rooms and whatever going to be able to be refunded or like if they cancel it, are they going to be able to get the full money back and everything like that? You know, because it's not. Obviously, it's not their fault. Or
WrestleMania is what, mid-April?
It depends every year. Sometimes it's depending on the city, it could be March, it could be April.
I feel like March or April is a good time to go to New Orleans anyway.
Yeah,
but we can get some cheap hotels.
I don't know, but like, yeah, I just found it odd. It was like, you know, for something that's that big of production and cost not only to the company, they're getting it back with ticket sales and all the merchandising and, you know, popcorn and all that type of stuff, but to actually do all the publicity about it and having it out there on like on their television shows, that's a huge deal. And for something to like just like all of a sudden like cancel it or like change the whole course of it.
Now, have you been to any WWE events live?
Oh yeah, I used to go to them all the time.
They're fun.
I used to go to them here when they were at the convention center here.
All right.
Then our casino now, and then I used to go to them at HSBC, Marine Meadow, and whatever it was.
Whatever bank it was named after at the time.
Right. First Niagara.
Right.
Yeah. So I used to go to them. Occasionally I'll watch it here and there. Mostly like I'll just like watch like YouTube highlights or whatever like that. And
so
I don't really have time to like
Wednesdays at 6 on All West New York Radio is the Think So Joe show. Now, Think So Joe Kent is a huge WWE fan. He's been to several WrestleMania events. I would say he's probably been to at least half a dozen all over the country. And he is super into it. In fact, he used to, I don't think he still does, I may be misspeaking here, but he used to have a podcast on another network called Board Wrestling Fan, where he just talked about wrestling.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I just found it odd though, like something like that, like you said, like the Super Bowl. Imagine like the NFL says the Super Bowl is going to be here, and then all of a sudden like there's like issues where they can't.
LOL, JK.
They can't use the stadium for whatever reason, and now they got to change the venue all of a sudden. Like it throws a whole wrench in everything.
No doubt.
You know, so.
Did you bring me a question this week?
No, but I can probably come up with one real quick off the top of my head.
All right. While he does that, I am going to remind all of you that this show, Here's the Thing, appears on All West New York Radio every Tuesday at 6 p.m. and is podcast thereafter. So if you go to allwnyradio.com, anytime after 8 o'clock on Tuesday, you will see this week's podcast. And, of course, I prefer that you listen live, which you can do at listen.allwnyradio.com, and then just hit the play button. All right, Drew, that was my promo.
Okay, so I got, with what's going on in the news with the P. Diddy trial, okay?
Okay.
You get $1 million, but you have to sit through one whole party. Are you doing it?
So I get $1 million to go to a Diddy party.
and sit through the whole thing and like attend and participate.
I don't know, man. So here's my concern. I mean, to be completely honest with you. My biggest concern would be being accused of something. Is that worth $1 million?
Right.
And even if you're found not guilty,
just going through it.
Yeah. Just being accused of something, the damage that does to your reputation, is that worth $1 million? I gotta say no.
Right. So yeah, you're not only your reputation, your character, everything like that. Plus, also, are you going to have to hire a lawyer for like any court?
How much of that $1 million you're going to lose through court costs and stuff?
Right. Like, and then like obviously there's probably going to be some sort of taxes that would be taken out of it as well because it's the federal government. You know, I would imagine.
Right.
So yeah. So like.
That is a really weird question. Where is your head at today? You okay?
Well, no, it was just somebody was asking like a question. I don't know if it was on like Facebook that I seen it on or X, and it was just like a general status question that somebody asked of like if that was you, would you do that? Like it was just weird though. It was like but I figured it's current news as well,
right.
So like kind of all of it wrapped together.
Yeah. All right. So I say no. Drew, it sounds like, is also saying no. What do you say? I will throw this question out on our X account, and you can answer it there. $1 million, you go to a Diddy party, but whatever happens now, maybe everything goes great. Maybe it's a
right. You have to attend. Right. So you have to attend the full party. You cannot leave early, and you have to participate in whatever activities are going on. Now, who knows? It could just be game night or watching a movie or whatever, or it could be some illegal activity.
Yeah,
but
it could be straight on Diddy orgy.
That's part. But whatever it is, that's what you have to do to be able to get that $1 million, and you got to be able to prove it.
There are a lot of things I would do for $1 million. I don't think that's one of them. I don't.
Yeah, to me, it seems like it's just too much drama, too much of a hassle, and like, why? Like, are you really that hard up for $1 million where you're going to?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I could use $1 million.
Sure, but like, but that's what I'm saying though. Like, is it worth it? Like, and then like, if if you're a person that has like kids or something like that, like, what effect is that you're going to have on your kids or your wife or whatever like that? It's just weird.
All right. Well. There you have it. Andrew McGrath in every Tuesday to talk sports and a lot of not sports here on Here's the Thing. I'm your host. My name's Scott Leffler. We'll be back next Tuesday and actually with more relevant and up-to-date topics. Congratulations on the championship if they won. And what a shame. Better luck next year if they didn't.
No, wouldn't it be Buffalo though?
Yeah.
So like, no, I'm just saying, like, if we lost, wouldn't that be Buffalo?
Wait, what?
If we lost the championship,
right?
Isn't that a Buffalo thing?
Oh, but I mean, we've won 2 in a row. I feel like it's ours.
But just general, like, So it'd be like, all right, whatever. Just everyday life.
Buffalo losing championships
and chicken wings.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
No ranch. It's got to be blue cheese.
All right. So we're going to take a brief music break with a song by Beautiful Remedy from the archives. And when I come back, my interview with Skyway.
I know it's gonna take some time to heal inside the bruises left on you. Every day will slowly fade away, but the memories still remain. I don't wanna hurt, I don't wanna cry, she said. Let the pain just go away. You can knock on my door, come home late and ignore, abuse my love 1,000 times, no matter how hard I try. You can knock on my door, come home.
Now, in the absence of any known cure, Scott Leffler.
All right, joining us in studio today is the punk band Skyway, all the way from Buffalo. I think everybody had an accident as they passed on the way here, which seems to be standard. Last week we had Voyager in studio, and they passed by an accident on the way here as well. So the 290 dangerous this time of day, apparently. But we're going to talk a little bit about the members, the band, what they've got going on, and what their favorite kind of toast is. And other than that, I don't know what we're going to do. So let's start with introductions.
Hey, I'm John. I play guitar and sing in Skyway.
All right.
I'm Andrew, and what do? I play the bass and I sing background vocals.
And I'm Brandon. I'm a drummer, and I sing the high harmonies, which makes no sense, but here I am.
All right. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having us.
You guys been doing this a while, right? The band, I mean.
Is it 93?
Something like
Started?
that, yeah.
Are you serious?
No.
I don't know.
No, we've been together coming up on 3 years
Yeah,
now?
just about.
Yeah, I feel like it's been longer than that.
Yeah, no,
I feel like I heard you guys on the Think So Joe show like a decade ago.
It wasn't a decade ago. We've been on the Think So Joe show before.
Right.
Yes. No, we started about 3 years ago, but we kind of hit hard and hit fast and haven't really slowed down since then.
Good for you.
Yeah, so we're kind of everywhere.
Now, I called you a punk band. Is that how you refer to yourselves?
Yeah, we're a pop punk band.
All right.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the punk, the pop punk, yeah.
We all grew up like, in that late 90s, early 2000 kind of style pop punk. And
Gotcha.
So I guess it's kind of like a nostalgic pop punk.
Right. And what got you into it?
Well, at this particular band, I'm a transplant to Buffalo. I've been here for, 18 years, so it feels like home. But
where are you from originally?
I'm from Corning, but I moved all over the place after I graduated high school.
Corning's a nice little town.
It was a nice place to grow up. It was very easy to grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's small, but everyone was really welcoming, and I was in a jazz trio with two of my very closest friends. I ended up moving out to San Francisco with them and being in a band there, kind of like a funk rock band sort of in San Francisco. I lived in New York for a while, but I came back here. Was in a couple of different cover bands, playing for a singer-songwriter. It all kind of ended, and I decided I want to go back to my youth and start a punk band when I was nearly 40 years old, which took some practice being the drummer.
So as a drummer, what's easier, punk, jazz, funk, cover bands? I would imagine covers is probably the easiest.
Covers is probably the easiest, but it all has its own challenges.
Right.
I mean, for this band, it was all about practicing speed and detail and coming up with fills that aren't exactly the same over and over again at 240 beats a minute.
Right.
And before we started at all, I had a small playlist, a Spotify playlist I was trying to practice to try and figure out, if my 40-year-old bones could still do this.
Right.
There's some Lagwagon tunes, and man, I remember struggling to try and get those chops back. Because before I was playing, Soundgarden and Led Zeppelin and that kind of thing, which is, nowhere near 240 beats a minute.
That really easy John Bonham drumming.
It's just, but like I said, it's all hard in its own way, and this particular thing is speed. But now, I could go back and play that in my sleep, which is great.
Now, given that, I feel like most punk bands, especially at 240 beats per minute, they're looking at minute 45, 2 minute, maybe 2 minute and 15 second songs. You guys are doing like normal length, like 3.5 minute songs. Do you lose weight every show?
I wish. No, I do actually bring a spare shirt to every show because I don't want to be hugging my wife and friends in a disgusting sweaty shirt. But
right.
I think actually a lot of that's attributed to John and Andrew because we have even our fastest songs. I don't think none of them are D-beat for 3.5 minutes. We have breakdowns. We have the choruses aren't or the verses aren't in a D-beat, so it gives you a little break during the songs. And some of the songs aren't that at all. So, but I'm known to not play light either. So,
at our last show, somebody said you could hear Brandon's snare drum from the moon.
Yeah. He is the loudest drummer in Buffalo.
Really?
I don't know about loudest drummer, but I'm up there. Yeah, I don't. It's just the way I play. I can't help it.
Andrew, what dragged you in?
I'm also a transplant to Buffalo. I moved here in January of 2019, and I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida. Before I lived here, I spent 4 years living in Hawaii on the island of Oahu, and we moved here from there. It's a whole other story. And I had been in bands in Tallahassee, and it had been about, I guess, 8 or 9 years since I had been in a band. I spent one summer doing kind of a solo, punk rock album of my own, recording demos for it, and I posted that on Bandcamp. Never expecting anybody to hear it or for it to go anywhere, which, by the way, it has not. But that was my foot in the door to get into Skyway. Is that a buddy of mine knew Brandon and knew he was looking for a bass player, and so they sent me a list of songs to try to learn, and I went in thinking like I'm one of 30 bass players these guys are auditioning. Right. I really swung for the fences. I came in with during the COVID pandemic when everybody was doing like buy nothing on Facebook Marketplace, I got a free left-handed bass guitar that I got off of somebody's porch, and I restrung that right-handed and wore it upside down and brought that in for my audition. And we played the first song we played together was Basket Case by Green Day, and I knew I had nailed it, but I wasn't sure how many other stellar bass players they had to interview after me.
Right.
It turned out there were no other bass players.
Andrew was our top pick. 1 out of 1.
That's where I came from.
So back to the Bandcamp thing. I really do feel like the internet allows for the democratization of the entertainment industry. So maybe you didn't hit, but I know others that have. And just a guy, singing or playing or whatever, literally in his basement, and next thing you know, he's got a record contract. It is crazy how much the music industry has changed due to 19 years in running, all West New York radio,
yeah.
So the internet really has changed the way that music happens.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly changed the way we're able to do things. I mean, we've all been around long enough that we've been in bands that, you had to make a press kit, you had to get a CD, you had to mail it to the college radio stations. If you wanted to book a show, you had to send things in the mail so they knew who you were. And so it's really cool that that's not necessarily a part of the job anymore. And it's cool that people can hear our music without ever having to pay a penny for it. I'm totally fine with that. So yeah, I like it.
And I think it's changed. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad.
Sure,
I think
sure.
It's while it is a lot easier just to send a link to an electronic press kit to anyone who might be interested, it does make it so there are just so many bands out there willing to just all they have to do is post one song with a link and some photos, and all of a sudden, everyone's competing with each other.
Well, I was just thinking a couple of weeks ago actually about the act of making an album. There used to be something magical to it. And now you can just record whatever you want, send it to CD Baby, and in 2 weeks you got your pressed CDs with your cover art, which is cool, but at the same time, it does lose some of the magic.
It absolutely does. I mean, there was something. I started my first legitimate, kind of touring band was a ska band.
They were called Brandon and the Buttheads. Actually, all of his bands before this one were called that.
And I tried real hard for this one to be called
including
that.
the Jazz Trio.
Skyway and the Buttheads was the working title, like original name.
But that ska band, we were in a college dorm room, and I have vivid memories of, we had a single CD burner, and we'd recorded in a crappy little basement.
Light scribes?
It was like a USB. It wasn't even built into the tower.
I actually have one of those here somewhere.
I just burned the CD, and then we would print the labels, and there was that like plastic label presser thing.
Uh-huh.
We had our poor sounding.
Do you remember
record.
what I'm talking about though?
Yes, I do.
Like lasers,
yeah. That was really cool. We could never afford that. So we would inkjet laser print the labels, the Avery labels or whatever. And there were nights where we'd spend just like slapping labels on and inserting our own printed jackets into just CD burns that we bought from
Those
Walmart.
labels would guarantee that your CD would get stuck in somebody's car CD.
Oh yeah, because they roll up.
Oh yeah.
They roll up. Yeah, I mean, and that's how we did it. And we throw them in a tub and jump in our crappy conversion van and hit the road, and that's what we did. And you can do that now for so much easier. It's such a different game. Recording is such a different game. It is easy for anyone to record a record, and I've been an audio engineer for over 20 years, and so we do that. We record some of our own things, but we mostly use that tool for demoing. We're lucky enough to have Jay as a good friend of ours at GCR downtown, so we do utilize that room because it sounds incredible, and Jay's an excellent engineer. But it makes our final product that much better, and that's something I never could have done really in any other band I was in up until now. Where it's just so easy to do.
Are you gonna say anything today?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm waiting.
Quiet, John.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to say it. And who are you?
You know the rules.
Yeah.
Well, they've been jumping on top of each other.
I'm waiting
you to jump in
for
at
my
some
turn.
point.
I'm usually not a rule follower.
Okay, go ahead. You can talk now.
I don't know. So,
John, what are you drinking?
I'm just coffee tonight. Just coffee.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool story.
Shut up. So, you said so. Oh, so yeah. So Andrew, he showed up playing a left-handed bass upside down, and we said you're in the band now. But I think that finding the right mix of people is it's hard to do. And I think we've all been in bands before, and I always say it's like you find a band and it's like people you can tolerate. It's almost like a part-time job. You meet up once a week, you practice, you work on songs, and then practice ends and you say, okay, I'll see you next week, and then you don't really talk to the person. Like that's how most of the bands that I've been in since I was a kid were.
Right.
And this one I think just inherently feels different because we all just kind of accidentally found each other.
Is that how do I put this? Is that a punk band thing? Because I do feel like a lot of the punk bands that I know are tighter than a lot of the rock bands, or I do feel like there's a punk mentality almost.
There is a little bit, but I think it just depends on where people are in their lives. Like I've been in bands where I'm married and have kids, and I've been in bands with other people who have the same kind of musical taste as me and same interests as me, but maybe they're they don't have kids or they're not attached. Or,
right.
And it's just hard to connect. Like
right.
So days when I say, hey, I can't have practice tonight because my kid's got a band concert at school, they just don't get that. And likewise when someone calls and says, I'm really hungover because I was out until 4 a.m, I don't get that anymore. Like
right.
That's not me.
See, and I get both.
You get you get drunk at the fourth graders band concert.
Yeah.
That's how you get through those.
John stays up till 4 a.m. because he drinks coffee
I drink
at night.
Starbucks at night. No, but I think the three of us, like, it really was a fluke. Like Brandon and I found each other on a Facebook post. Like Brandon was looking for people, and we had never met before that, and got together. And then through a friend of a friend, Andrew shows up with his wrongly strung bass, and we're like, this guy's just like us. And I think that's what keeps this going so strong is that I can confidently say my text thread with these two guys is way more active than my text thread with like my family, with my other friends. Like we talk, we hang out when we're not in a band. So
right.
I think that's really like where that comfort has come from.
Most of our text threads are not even band related. It's just we became such close friends. Our families are close. Our kids all love each other. Our wives love each other, and we just have like family outings with the band,
right.
And it's truly
Y'all have kids? All
we
three?
do, yeah. It's sure it's I've said this before, and it's really true. As you get older and older, it's real hard to make close friends. It's hard to make It's really
50.
challenging. Yeah,
impossible.
I mean, I was 39 when we started this, and I'm a fairly gregarious guy, so I generally do tend to make some friends, but not like this. These guys are my best buds. We chat all day, like hundreds of text messages a day, just about random stuff. If you're in the middle of something, you look down, I missed 60 text messages. That's just how it goes, and it's I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it makes us a much more cohesive, coherent band on stage. I think we love it more. I certainly do.
Yeah, I'm pushing for us to just go ahead and get a place together.
Yeah, the compound.
All the families come
yeah.
together, and
we can have like a Skyway summer camp. We have 8 kids between the 3 of us. So
right.
It's almost a baseball team.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
3 more punk bands.
Who does the writing?
Confidently, we all do. It's really like, I think what happens a lot of times is I'll come in with an idea and say, hey, here's a song, and then they will make it better. But then just as often, like Andrew will come in and say, here's a song, and then we'll make it better. So,
not to get too political, but go back to 2016. Donald Trump just gets elected president, and I said to myself, well, at least there's going to be good punk music. And then there wasn't. The fuck happened?
Yeah, I always joke that not that I would call them punk, but I always joke that how Rage Against the Machine was so angry during the Clinton years, and then they disappeared just in time for George W. Bush or whatever. I think that when the current election happened that night, we made a plan to go into the studio the next day and write and record a song and make a music video that night. And we did, and it was called Uncomfortably Numb. And I think that was this real flashpoint for us. This is the moment where, for the most part, we're a pretty funny band. We have a song that's on our new album called Marie, and it's about how much I'm in love with Marie Callender, who makes really great chicken pot pies. And so there's that part of us. But I think now...
I was confused with the Marie Kondo.
That's also different. A good Marie, but Marie Callender is the best Marie. Anyway, it's fun.
Makes the pasta dishes, right?
I'm a fan of the pies, but yeah.
Right.
It's fun to be funny, and I like being funny, but we're also in a moment right now where being funny is getting harder and harder because the real world is so...
but at the same time getting more and more important, too.
Exactly, yeah.
That's how I felt about it.
Not to interrupt you, I'm interrupting you. We have a new EP that's coming out, and that's kind of the mentality we have with it. We need to still find things to be alive about, things to be to enjoy and to laugh about.
Yeah, the album is called Time to Be Alive, and it's that's kind of a rallying cry where it's it's not time to roll over, it's not time to just take whatever the system can throw at us. It's time to be something,
right?
And it gets harder and harder to do that, but that means it gets more important.
I do feel like punk bands have license to do that other bands might not. I feel, there's this thing, Bruce Springsteen said whatever, and Donald Trump got mad about it, and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like because Bruce is a rock and roll musician, not that he ever would, but there's a certain expectation that he just shut up and play. Whereas I don't feel like anyone can ever tell a punk band to do that. I did see not too long ago, Dropkick Murphys got some shit because they said some overtly political things, and people were upset about it. And then their fans were like, have you listened to anything they've ever done?
I mean, that's happened to Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
It's of all bands that I can possibly think of that would be political, that's the one. And everyone's like, just play your music, man. It's you don't know what you're listening to, do you?
Well, it's all the conservatives who are mad at Green Day when they're playing American Idiot and adding a line about Trump. It's
who did
what do
you
think that song
was
about?
Who did you think the idiot was? Well, it's like Bruce Springsteen, too. I mean, it's no surprise. He's been, vocal for a long time. And even if you go back to, the song Born in the USA is certainly...
Which 98% of people misunderstand.
That's a punk song. Sure. Maybe not in sound, but in message. You
guys should cover it.
Do that.
We do a covers show every Halloween, and I've been pushing to do Bruce Springsteen for 2 years in a row now.
Yeah, he has. We always knock.
Same venue?
It's the same guy who promotes it, Matt O'Leque. He's 1 year it was at Electric Avenue, and then it was at Milky's because they shut down.
Gotcha.
So fun show. We did Green Day 1 year and the Gin Blossoms the next. So I don't know what we're doing this year.
You mentioned the ease of recording and getting music out there. I think that song that we did was a great example. Andrew was right. It literally was the day of the election, and we were texting back and forth. I can't believe this is happening again. And we said we just need to get in a room and just make some noise and kind of get that out. And that was our plan. Was we're going to come in, we're going to write a song, we're going to record the song, we're going to do a video, and we're not leaving the room until we do it. So we got to our practice space about 8:00, and we walked out of there at morning or something, and it was all done.
How was it received?
Pretty positively.
It's our 4th highest played song on Spotify, which is cool.
Yeah, it's only been out since November.
But it was one of those things, like, it truly was not a song, and then 2 days later we uploaded it to all the streaming stuff, and it came out, a few days after that, once it all published. And you couldn't do that, and there's like a visceral, feel of that song because it's raw. Like,
right.
It was a one-time, just like, this is what we feel in this moment, and we're sharing that with you right now. And you couldn't do that 10 years ago. You couldn't do that 20 years ago.
So you mentioned Electric Ave, you mentioned Milky's. Do you guys have a favorite venue? Is it all the same? Or
Unfortunately, I think Mohawk was our favorite place to play by far. What else do we like, John?
I mean, we really, especially when we started playing, we kind of had that mentality of, we'll play anywhere and everywhere. So we've done all the local places around here, and it's everything from, bigger stages like Ironworks and, Rec Room and those kinds of places. We've also been in basements. So I think...
House parties?
We did, Timeless Babes when they were still doing their thing, so that kind of stuff.
I know the band that was in last week, Voyager, they were big fans of the Caz. Have you guys had a chance to play there, or even see a show there?
That place is way too nice for us. We'd ruin it.
Yeah, it's too fancy in there. We're not fancy.
No, I think Mohawk is definitely looking forward to that. Hopefully coming back soon. I know there's plans for that.
I've heard. I hope it's right.
Yeah, we've had some good shows like Nietzsche's. This kind of has that similar vibe.
Nietzsche's is always a good time.
Yeah.
We'll be doing our EP release show at Amy's Place, which I've never played there, but I love seeing shows there. They do a lot of hardcore shows and stuff.
I actually didn't know Amy's Place was a venue.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's
Area
Area
54
restaurant, but they have a show space right next to it, attached.
I didn't know that. I only know it as a restaurant.
Yeah, they've had a lot of a lot of punk bands, a lot of hardcore bands go through Amy's. It's kind of
it is kind of a hardcore staple. Yeah. Yeah, it's called Area 54.
Main Street, right?
Yeah, it's right across from the university. Yeah, it's a tiny little slot.
I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah. Generally, the drummer's on the stage, the small little nothing of a stage, and the rest of the band's on the floor.
Right.
It's real tiny, but it generally draws well. I think people just like it there. It's next to the university, which is helpful.
Sure.
It's got that good DIY feel to it.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
Do you guys have other bands that you like playing with, or dislike? Even better, dislike. Spill some dirt.
I said I want to make a diss track. Maybe this is a chance that we come up with someone we don't like and we can talk shit about them.
So we don't get
Brandon and the Buttheads are terrible.
I don't get diss tracks. I don't understand, and I know it's mostly a rap thing, but I don't understand the need to. I don't know. The only thing I can think is that it's just showmanship, but I don't know. I
think it's a way to drum up publicity. Truthfully,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes I guess they don't like each other, but I don't know. You'll never find us writing a diss track because we just aren't that kind of people. You could ask us who we don't like to play with, and I think we would just sit here and scratch our heads and it'd be dead air for 5 minutes. We love playing with everybody, and the bands we've played with, that have really resonated with us are on a different level, of course. But those
So do you have any that you particularly like you find out you're on a show and you see the other bands that are playing and you see one in particular and you're like, yes, love playing with those guys.
Yeah, there are a few punk bands in Buffalo that I think anytime they ask us to play, we're there. Normally it's us asking them to play. If they ever asked us, we would play. Pilot Field is great. Robbery Club, we love Robbery Club. Who else?
Oh, and that's actually we have a release show coming up in June, and we booked this one, and that's kind of what we did was
June 3rd, right? June 6th.
Well, June 6th is the release, and then the show is the 13th.
Gotcha.
So, but that was one that we sat down and said we want to hang out with. Those are the ones that we want to kind of share that with. So Robbery Club's on that one. Hyperview's another punk band that's pop punk band in the area that we play with a bunch of times, and they're good people. And then there's a newer band called the Spit Sisters, which
they won Best New Artist.
Yeah, they're super cool people in the band, and actually the singer we did that Halloween show with.
Oh man,
she did all Dashboard Confessional songs, and it was great.
Yeah, she was incredible.
We kind of befriended her there, and we haven't played with them yet, but looking forward to having them on the show. So I think that's the way this area goes. People, you meet somebody once, and you're like, okay, I guess we're best friends now. And
back when All West York Radio first started, we promoted a lot of stuff, and we actually put on a bunch of shows. And there used to be a bunch of cool little alternative venues. We did Rock and Bowl at Kenmore Lanes. That was cool. There was a go-kart track that did shows. and we did a few shows there, and it was a really cool venue, particularly for punk bands, and like alternative bands. But I feel like we don't have any of those cool alternative venues anymore.
Yeah, I know the hardcore bands are doing shows at AmVets again, which is pretty cool. That's kind of like
that is literally hardcore.
Yeah, that's our youth.
And where was the Pizza Palace or the Pasta Palace?
They were doing that. That's not happening anymore. I don't think.
The problem I think now a lot of times is insurance. That people cannot get insurance coverage for shows. And when we were kids, you know, when I was touring with the ska band, it was almost every single venue was a VFW, a fire hall, somebody's church that they're putting on some like punk show, ska show. That just doesn't happen, at least here.
When we started All West New York Radio, we did a kickoff show, April 1st, 2006, at the UAW Hall in Lockport.
Yeah, those were excellent shows. That's what I grew up on. Yeah, you know, to your point, I think there's these underground places that do shows, but they don't have longevity, and that's why you don't hear about them.
Right.
Like, yeah, 10 years ago, you know, you knew the basements that you went to every weekend. They had shows. You know, Custer Street. People still talk about Custer Street, and that was a thing, you know, in the early 2000s. But you know, those places, they just don't last. Like Timeless Babes was doing basement shows, and it was great, and it got shut down.
Gotcha.
You know, and you know, there are some like punk basements that people know of, but it's like you know the name, but you have to figure out where it is because they're trying to keep them the down low. Like we played the Soup, and that's another one of those like popular places in Buffalo, but they can't make it too well known because it gets shut down.
I feel like at this point, most of the big festivals and series for the year have been announced. You guys playing any of those?
Well, we're hoping to hit Music is Art again locally.
Right.
We've done that now 2 years in a row.
I feel like they invite everybody, though. I don't know.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it's
very competitive.
I feel like we're slowly like climbing the ranks though, because the first
and don't
year.
get me wrong, Music is Art is amazing.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
Like the first year, they're like, "Hey, we'd like you to play Music is Art. You're playing at 8:30 in the morning. Bring breakfast sandwiches for everybody." And then last year we had a good time slot, but they're like, you know, you're playing at a peak time. Your stage is about 7 miles away from where everything else is.
The idea was really good. There's a skate park right there. So they wanted to have like the punk bands, the hardcore bands at the skate park, which was really cool, but it was very far removed from the rest of the festival, so we felt very far removed.
I do feel like the venue, though, is really cool. So I actually, this past year, went, and I have one of those Segway two-wheeled scooters.
Oh, yeah.
Not the ones like the mall cop ones, but the other ones. And I brought it with me, and I zipped along.
Yeah, that's the way.
I had a blast. I caught like 8 different acts in 2 hours. And stayed for 2 songs, go to the next one.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very cool venue. I know that over the years it's moved a few times, but I do like this new venue. And the new amphitheater is beautiful.
It's very cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're lucky to have it here now. I mean, there's complaints about every single venue. I mean, that one, of course, parking. Yeah, it's hard to park there. Everyone knows. But it's a really cool venue, and we're really lucky to have it to get, to draw some of those
I liked it at Riverworks. I mean, Riverworks I thought was great for it as well.
Yeah, I mean, that had its ups and downs too, just like any other place.
And I think anything that size is going to.
Sure, inherently.
But I'll tell you, like, my favorite part about wherever it is, you walk around and you know everybody all day long. Yep. Like, it does show, like, that connectedness, like what we were saying. Like, there's no band where, like, we don't want to talk to those people. Like, you know everybody, and you see bands. Like, I think there's more band members watching us play this past year, because they all know each other, and you kind of come and support.
That is one of the things that I do love about the Western New York music community is there are a few bands that have beefs with other bands, but generally it's love, and it is cross-genre. Nobody cares. You guys met on a bill 2 years ago, and suddenly you're besties for life, and I feel like most of the Western New York music community is like that. It is very cool as an outsider to watch.
I think Buffalo is like that. I think generally Buffalo is a very, it's like, a city of good neighbors, they love to say. I think it's kind of true just in general. I think we stick up for each other. We work hard for each other. We've gone to a couple of the Music is Art meetings that they have, to try and support the organization. And it's artists of all genres, and everyone's coming together to try and make something real cool for the Buffalo community. Right. I think a little bit of that underdog mentality.
Did you guys ever do infringement?
You know, we are lined up for it this past year, and then someone was out of town. I'm not going to.
Probably me.
But I think the infringement festival is also very cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah, they had asked us to be like part of like the kickoff party, and just didn't line up with our schedule this year.
These things happen.
I'm always the one out of town.
What happens when you have 8 kids?
It's true. I think we are not convinced that Brandon's not like a spy, part of like NSA or something, because he's gone every single weekend. He just got back from Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
He won't tell us what he was
in
doing
air quotes,
there,
yeah.
But
I heard golf and gambling, but I feel like that could be a cover.
And espionage.
and espionage.
That's what somebody who went to Vegas would want you to think they were doing.
I wish I was cool. I just go out of town a lot.
So I told you before we started this that we had half an hour and we were going to go over. We've already gone over, which is okay.
Beautiful.
That said, we should probably think about wrapping things up. Anything that you guys wanted to talk about that I didn't have the foresight to ask you, or just anything that you want to say, now is your chance.
Just want to reiterate that we've got a new EP coming out June 6th. We are super excited about it. We recorded it with Jay Zubricki at GCR. When he asked me what I wanted it to sound like, I said, I've been listening to a lot of Superstar Car Wash lately, the Goo Goo Dolls album. He said, hey, I got good news for you. I've got the amps that Robbie and Johnny used right here. You can use those on the album. And it's one of those things where just like recording in one of these amazing Buffalo studios, it's got a long history, and having somebody who knows exactly what they're doing, setting up the mics and pushing the buttons. Like, I think this is the best thing we've ever made. We're in the process of getting it pressed to vinyl, which won't happen by June 6th, but it'll be not too long after that. Again, the release show is June 13th at Area 54 at Amy's Place. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll dance.
All right.
And that's all before we start playing.
So,
and then after we start
and
playing.
then you'll listen to us, and we'll change your whole outlook on life.
So I realized that it's not out yet, but can we play one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we'll close the show with that. You just let me know whatever you want. We'll close the show with that. One of you guys wants to introduce it.
You want to play, Johnny?
Well, the EP is called Time to Be Alive, and that's partially taken from one of the song titles. One of the songs is called What a Time to Be Alive. And I think that kind of goes back to like the overall just kind of message of the EP. It's just, there's different topics across the different songs, but it is still kind of a positive. We felt weird like having a positive sounding album come out in a time that is so tumultuous and generally not very positive.
But again, that's why it's needed.
Right, and that was kind of the take on it. So I think that's the one that might be
What a Time to Be Alive.
Close. What a Time to Be Alive.
By Skyway. On All West New York Radio.
Crashing all the same.
Request your favorite All Western New York radio song with our request widget. Find it under the radio menu at allwny.com.